Well, good afternoon. I am House Minority Leader Tony McCombie. I represent the 89th District, parts of 7 counties in Northwest Illinois. And I'm joined today by House Republican Budgeteers, Deputy Leader Noreen Hammond and Assistant Republican Leader Amy Ellick. I started this year, just as I started the tenure as leader, by meeting with the governor and the majority party and stretching my hand out to the majority party to work together to discuss our shared priorities in a bipartisan, transparent way. And I, again, will reiterate that our door is always open. After last year's session, we made something very clear as a caucus. The actions taken by Democrats as it relates to an inflated budget would require tax increases. It would also cut services to our residents and our most vulnerable, or both. We described how the state budget was built on one-time federal revenues, and it would be the taxpayers that are on the hook to cover the shortfalls when those federal dollars run out. Now we are dealing with that aftermath. Our priorities are simple this year. No tax increases, fund education, pay the pension bill, and fix agency dysfunction. The governor spoke today about many groups, and House Republicans want to make sure that the most vulnerable and our hardworking taxpayers are not forgotten. Our constituents, regardless of party, are fed up with their dollars being used for priorities that are not their own. House Republicans represent parts of all 102 counties, and we know that increasing taxes and fees punishes business and punishes businesses. This process continues to hurt businesses. It will not bring prosperity to Illinois. We cannot spend our way to prosperity. Hyperbolic statements, partisan rhetoric will not solve our state's problems. Here in our state, in Illinois, we reflect Midwestern values by working together on shared priorities, keeping our promises to each other, to our families, and the state of Illinois. Now, I'd like to introduce Deputy Leader Noreen Hammond.
Thank you, Leader McCombie. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm State Representative Noreen Hammond. I represent the 94th District in Western Illinois. I serve as Deputy Republican Leader and also the Chief Budgeteer for the House Republicans. Today, we saw Governor Pritzker introduce the largest budget in the history of the state of Illinois. The largest budget in the history of the state of Illinois. The governor's proposed FY25 budget spends $52.7 billion in GRF, which is a $2.3 billion increase over last year's enacted budget for an overall 4.5% increase. The governor's FY25 revenue estimate includes over $1 billion in additional revenue, raising taxes on Illinois businesses, and providing minimal tax relief for Illinois' working families, our seniors, and our disabled. In his address, the governor completely sidestepped the $1 billion in tax increases that he is relying on for this year's proposed budget. The state is currently facing about a $775 million deficit. This is based on existing revenue and the governor's spending plan. Instead of proposing any substantive cuts to address the projected deficit, the governor is again asking the taxpayers of Illinois to foot the bill so that he can cater to his core constituencies. The governor's budget does not reflect the overall priorities of Illinois' families. The budget provides better health care for undocumented immigrants than for most Illinois families. In fact, on Governor Pritzker's watch, the state will have spent more than $2 billion in taxpayer funds on health care benefits for undocumented immigrant adults. Additionally, the state will have spent $820 million to address Chicago's migrant crisis. In total, over $2.8 billion has been dedicated to services for migrants and undocumented immigrants, while services for our most vulnerable citizens remain chronically underfunded and underserved. House Republicans support a budget without gimmicks and tax increases. We support a budget that prioritizes the needs of Illinois' working families, our seniors over migrants, and undocumented. We'll continue to work the best that we can with our colleagues to pass a balanced budget that protects Illinois' taxpayers and shares our priorities. Thank you very much. I'll now turn it over to Leader Ellick.
Good afternoon. I'm Amy Ellick, and I am the state representative for the 111th District, which covers Madison County in the Metro East. I serve as deputy budgeteer for the House Republican Caucus and as assistant Republican leader. The budget proposed today by the governor spends $2.3 billion more than last year while increasing taxes on businesses. The people that we represent throughout the state don't appreciate seeing their tax dollars spent on enticing undocumented immigrants to come to Illinois for housing and Cadillac health care and other benefits. Inflation is bleeding their bank accounts. According to Moody's, the typical U.S. household needed to pay $213 more a month in January to purchase the same goods and services it did a year ago due to the high inflation. And Americans are paying, on average, $605 more each month compared with 2 years ago at this time. This is why we recommend and we believe that we need to provide real tax relief to the people of Illinois and pass a balanced budget without tax increases. We still want to see tax relief for every taxpayer in Illinois by increasing the standard exemption from the current $2,425 for every taxpayer in Illinois to the $2,625, which is an additional $200 to add to the standard exemption. The governor's budget only increases the standard exemption to $2,550. So that actually has an effect of taking $93 million out of the pocketbooks of Illinois taxpayers. Now that Governor Pritzker has presented his budget proposal to lawmakers, it's time for the House and Senate to work together on a budget that reflects the priorities of the taxpayers we all represent. We want to see an agreement this year on a budget that is balanced without any tax hikes and provides real tax relief for families. Thank you.